All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Four down and eight to go as Major League Baseball's playoffs roll along as we're on to the divisional round. Now, the biggest question for both the American League and National League as the divisional series are here is whether or not the additional time off will hurt the teams that had the first round buys. Now, in years past, obviously with the wild card game, you know, you didn't have as much time off, a couple of extra days now for the top two seeds in each league. So it's going to be interesting to see how the additional time off potentially affects these teams. Now, you look at one series in the NLDS. You got the six-seeded Philadelphia Phillies taking on the two-seed, the Atlanta Braves. And we expected to have two NL East teams in the divisional round, but not the Philadelphia Phillies. As the Fighting Phils, they came out of nowhere. They were able to win or get the last wild card spot in the National League. They were able to hold off the Brewers. Both the Phillies and Brewers stumbled down the stretch, but the thing is, the Brewers stumbled more than the Phillies did. And with that said, this is why Philadelphia is here and Milwaukee isn't. But then for what Philadelphia did in round number one against the St. Louis Cardinals, they came back in the ninth inning of game one, stunned St. Louis, and the Cardinals, to me, never recovered from that in game two. And with that said, the rest is history. Philadelphia is moving on to the divisional round. Now, you think about the big stage and you think about Bryce Harper, the outfielder of the Phillies. Of course, he's been to the playoffs numerous times as a member of the Washington Nationals, left in 2018. And then right after that, the Nats finally got out of the first round and they got on a roll and won the World Series. So for Harper, this is his first time back in the postseason, and he's had productivity on the big stage before. And we saw him be productive in round number one against St. Louis, and now his bat is going to once again be important as the Phillies clash with the defending World Series champions. What's a guy like Kyle Schwarber going to do? We've seen him come up big in the postseason before, last year for the Red Sox, and before that with the Chicago Cubs. You have other guys to keep an eye on in this Philadelphia lineup, which includes Reese Hoskins and Gene Segura. Then I'm also looking at this pitching for Philadelphia. Ranger Suarez is going to get the ball for the Fighting Phils in game number one. You also have Zach Wheeler on the bump for game number two. And then you have the likes of Aaron Nola and Kyle Gibson, who Rob Thompson could go to in this rotation in this shortened series. Now, the Phillies bullpen has been shaky throughout this year, but they stepped up in a big way against St. Louis in round number one. And it's going to be interesting to see if Philadelphia can keep it going. Now, on the flip side, the Braves, they've been hot for the last several months. They caught the Mets for the top spot in the NL East, and that was so important as they were able to get that first round bye. Now, you look at this Braves team, Max Fried is going to get the ball tomorrow for game number one. But behind him in this rotation, you still got the likes of Kyle Wright, Charlie Morton, and of course, Spencer Strider, who just got the big time extension to keep him with the Braves for the coming years. One question mark for the Braves, in my opinion, is their bullpen. Not as much AJ Minter, the setup guy, as it is Kenley Jansen. Kenley Jansen had another solid season for the Braves, but at times we've seen him be a little shaky in the postseason throughout his career with the Dodgers. He's been on, but at other times he's been off. So it's going to be interesting to see which Kenley Jansen are we going to see in this series for Atlanta. This lineup that the Braves have, they're very deep and they're very talented, and there's not a lot of weaknesses. You think about the likes of Austin Riley, Dansby Swanson, Ronald Acuna Jr., who was not a part of this Braves championship team last year as he was out with a knee injury. You also have the youngster Michael Harris, Marcell Ozuna, and I could just keep going down the list of talented players that the Braves can keep throwing at you, as that, gives them the ability to continuously put stress on opposing pitching staffs. For the Phillies, This is their first postseason, or pardon me, rather, their first postseason since 2011, but also it's going to be the first time that their home fans get to see a game at Citizens Bank Park. And I'm looking at the Phillies right now. This is a team that's playing with house money. They have nothing to lose. And if they can go down there and get a split from the Braves in game number one and bring it back to Citizens Bank, one game apiece, I get well, that place is going to be rocking regardless. But I think the fans are really going to come out in full force if we got a 1-1 situation as opposed to Philadelphia being down 2-0. I think Philadelphia, with the momentum that they have, game one is a golden opportunity for them to steal one tomorrow afternoon against the Braves and really put the stress on Atlanta. One thing for sure, since these teams have faced off so much this season, 19 times as divisional foes, Philadelphia is not going to be phased by the Braves. There's nothing that the Phillies can show the Braves that they haven't seen already, vice versa. So it's going to be interesting to see how the managers, Rob Thompson for Philadelphia and Brian Snicker for Atlanta, go about things. I think this is going to be a great series. I think it's going to be back and forth and nip and tuck. But when it's all said and done, I'm going to take Atlanta to squeeze by Philadelphia in 5 games. Now, the other NLDS series, you got the 5 seed, the San Diego Padres, taking on the number 1 seed, the team that has the best record in baseball this year, in the Los Angeles Dodgers. And make no mistake about it, there is no love lost between these two longtime National League West rivals. About 3 hours separates these two teams. And, this is a situation right here. If you're the Padres, will you finally be able to, take it or stick it to Big Brother? Because for so many years, the Dodgers have dominated this series. Usually in recent years, when the games are at Petco, you see just as many Dodgers fans in the stands for those series and those games as you do Padres fans. So I think it's going to be important for the Padres to come out there and try to see some momentum themselves in this series to show the Dodgers that, you know what, we're not fooling around. Will the Dodgers take the Padres lightly? That's going to be interesting to see as well. I don't think they will, because the Dodgers know what's at stake here. I mean, they won the World Series 2 years ago. It looked like they were on their way to getting back there last year before they ran into the Braves. But then they had to clash in the first round, or the wild card round, or the divisional round, excuse me, last year with the San Francisco Giants. And now you get another division rival that you got to meet here in a short 5 game series. And for San Diego, they do have some momentum going for themselves. That was a hard fought series win over the New York Mets in the wild card round. All 3 games in Citi Field in Queens. So now you got to fly back west and get ready for this game. But the Padres, they got to find a way to keep it going. Of course, you got Manny Machado and Juan Soto in the middle of your lineup. Who's going to be the other guys to step up? We saw the likes of Jerickson Profar and Josh Bell get some big hits through the series against the Mets. Will guys like that continue to contribute? You look at this rotation for the Padres, and that's going to be very important. It's going to be Mr. Clevenger, Mike Clevenger, going tomorrow in game number 1 against Julio Urias. So let's see what the Padres can get going there. And then game number 2 is going to be a couple of old and seasoned veterans, if you will, in Yu Darvish and, of course, Clayton Kershaw. But you still have the likes of Blake Snell, another solid lefty, but he got roughed up in game number 2 by the Mets lineup. So let's see if he can rebound and get back on track against the Dodgers. For LA, you know what? It's kind of been there, done that. A very deep and talented lineup once again. Trey Turner, I think he can have a big time impact in this series for LA. It's going to be important for the Padres pitchers to keep him off base, because if he does get on base, you know what? He can pose some problems. And one thing we saw as the Padres beat the Mets had some success stealing a lot of bases in that series. And I guarantee you that's something that the likes of Dave Roberts, the Dodgers manager, will definitely key on. You have Mookie Betts, and you also have Trey Turner at the top of that lineup. And if they get on base, if they can put some stress on these Padres pitchers. A guy for me that I think, could be an impact player for Los Angeles in this series is going to be outfielder Trace Thompson. He got some more playing time, some extended playing time coming down the stretch due to injuries, and he started to really swing a solid bat. He's always had a good glove in the outfield, has solid range, and I think he could come up big for the Dodgers in this series if they are going to advance. One big question mark for me for Los Angeles is the bullpen. Craig Kimbrell was shaky at times. Dave Roberts removed him from the closer role. It's been a closer by committee. So I'm really interested to see what Los Angeles does. In the same vein as it is with the Phillies, I think it's important for the Padres to go out there and steal game one and get that momentum, being that the fact that the Dodgers have rested for several days. So we have to wait and see how that plays out. But nonetheless, when it's all said and done, the Dodgers are the better team. And I'm going to take them into advance to the NLCS over the Padres in 4 games. So, folks, that's going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you like what you saw, please feel to hit the like button as well as subscribing to this channel. Also, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I'm signing off, saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.